It's the 7th of June 2023, and it's roughly just after 6 in the PM. The sun is glorious, it's a beautiful evening. I'm treating general practitioners, medical misdemeanors, misconduct, and malpractice. There's a little bit of an issue about the safety that's not being facilitated or practiced in society. Whether it has come to the knowledge of people already that are aware that there have been problems originating from Southwest Ireland, the people that are responsible for coveting my farms or upsetting my family unit or disrespecting my child's upbringing with very illegal documents without due process, without proper procedure, etc. And these people that are continuing to cause offence in this matter and that are hoping to be aspirational in their hopes as a human being, their desires to be, I suppose, a good person, are really not that noble. There are people in this community that are, after being involved in legislation developments that are anti-corruption, of humanitarian aid, they're of crime prevention apparently, they're also of all these lovely environmental and sustainable initiatives, but yet unfortunately they're still hoodwinking themselves and they're still making nuisances of themselves. They're still guilty of blasphemy, they're still guilty of failed treason, they're still owing dirty debts, they're still exacerbating their debts, and they're still slandering and defaming a royal mother. So there's a very dangerous issue with any individuals coming up in and around my proximity while I'm self-healing. There are people that are of cybercrime, that have been of financial fraud from the southwest of Ireland. Now, the conditions that I'm treating on my own are quite dangerous, they're quite serious. I don't use pharmaceutical medication. I haven't seen a doctor since 2018 when I was refused the care and treatment that I requested and that I required. So I'm treating conditions on my own, and that is a very dangerous recent issue that has been caused in the conditions that I'm tolerating when there are people in my farm holdings out in Ardfert. Now, there are people coming in and out of a building where there aren't any people meant to be except me. Now, these people have been a part of a community, a collective that is of blasphemy and organised failed treason. They have failed at treason at least 3 or 4 times, and they're still insisting and persisting. So there's a very dangerous issue with what I'm tolerating, people coveting from me and people slandering and bad-mouthing me without knowing me, without interacting, without engaging, and without transactions or any interactions. So these people are in my proximity. They're not of Narcotics Anonymous fellowship principles. They're not of Alcoholics Anonymous principles. And they haven't been practicing recovery protocol, Brexit protocol, or any royal protocol. These people are a liability unto themselves, and we've already seen the casualties that they've caused. So they have debts and problems caused to my good name. They've owed me debts since about 2006 for damages, harms, and losses to the doors of education. And these people that don't understand what it means to be of royal protocol. Let's take, for instance, a person up in Dublin that considers themselves to be of a seat or of tenure or of any position. They might understand, this is especially for the interests of NATO, the United Nations, the European Court of Human Rights. It's also for the interests of Europol, Frontex, the whole lot. My crime prevention recovery advocacy has saved people's lives, and it has saved people's wealth. Now, there's a person up in Dublin that thinks they're calling the shots about a woman, a property on a private royal, a mother whose child he's afraid to restore to my care because he'd have to tell me the truth about why he failed to do his job properly, and he'd probably have to make amends in different shapes and forms. So misogyny out the window, misogyny out the window. Let's be democratic. This is a democratic society. I've earned my positions in the places that I hold, credibility and contributions to as much as the next person, whether I was born a man or a woman. So just in case anyone gets the run of themselves about misogyny, the little boy that I gave birth to was quite damaged and traumatized, just in case anyone gets ahead of themselves with any misunderstandings or misappropriate terms. But anyone up in Dáil Éireann that thinks they're above the law needs to remind themselves about Royal Protocol, and my position with Royal Protocol and the dangers of offending Royal Protocol. Now, as I'm of crime prevention, it's quite dangerous that there are ASBOs of mental illness still in my proximity, still slandering, bad-mouthing, false reporting, exacerbating their deaths, walking, as they think, onto places where I don't permit them to be. I don't give anyone permission to be on my farms. These people are hilarious. They haven't owned a shred of anything except trouble, and they have only caused trouble at people's doors. They're not welcome at my door in Ardfart, Tubbard Hill, and they're certainly not welcome at my gates up in Kilflin, McElligott Farm Holding. So if the guards are on the right side of the law, we've already seen, I hope anyway, the guards have already seen what has happened with these ASBOs hoping to walk onto my land and upsetting my child's upbringing. These people have not only damaged the guards' reputations, they've damaged the guards' safety. Now, as a recovery advocate of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, any ASBOs coming within my proximity, putting people's lives at risk to walk onto my property, need their heads checked. My child was born very precious. I'm a Royal Angelic Light Worker. I'm a sacred mother. I have a royal purpose. I have a humanitarian purpose, etc. My work as a humanitarian royal has reformed society and has saved people's lives and wealth. Now, I'm living in poverty because of people ignorant enough and stupid enough to continue breaking the law, offending me when they are still exacerbating their debts that they owe me. Now, you can be as spiritualized as you like, but the reality of the circumstances is that the reality bites. I don't have to be polite and spiritual with people that don't know how the P's and Q's of etiquette are formulated in a circumstance such as this. So the person up in Dublin that thinks they're running the country obviously are misunderstanding the situation. It's quite dangerous if they're thinking that they are in charge of a country where they aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and when they're piggybacking on my legislation, and when their whole foundations are based on fraud. So anyone deluded enough, thinking that farm fraud is safe for other people's families and homes, are highly misunderstanding the situation. My child is a missing person. His name is Garrod McElligott. He was born on the 14th of the 10th, 2015. The child is missing and traumatized, and the authorities know full well the circumstances that I'm presented with. So any ASBOs presenting themselves as mental health practitioners might be very careful. Also, any ASBO effort by land grabbers suffering from mental illness or drug addiction, because I'm fully aware they have the ailment or condition. These people that are assisting the ASBOs that claim to be mental health practitioners, I'll have you be warned, I'm 20 years a narcotics recovery advocate, okay? So it might be very safe for you or those guilty that claim to be general health practitioners not to be fraudulent in any documents regarding history or anything of the sort regarding status with very unreliable establishments and bodies and agencies in this community assisting ASBOs with mental illness of farm fraud and child abduction. The papers I have already been presented with regarding unlawful care orders of my child are already dangerous enough for little boys and girls' futures of the Garda Síochána. So anyone silly enough to be in my proximity where they're not within remit and where they have no right and that aren't observing royal protocol, I hope the French Legion are fully aware of my royal ancestry. The French Legion, NATO, the Troika, the whole lot of you. You're out there on mainland Europe, and I hope you're enjoying the weather. As usual, there are ASBOs in County Kerry not doing their jobs properly, and the country has gone to the awful bog standard in this situation with regard to democratic rights. There has been no observation of democratic rights, and there's a little issue of individuals that are a fraud, their identity. They have lost like the leaf of their senses with regard to their attempts to be of my royal ancestry, but unfortunately that's not a possibility for them. So those that are thinking of procuring patronage or property, they're not safe in society, and they're not making other people safe. So would the UN, if you have any idea or recollection of what this country has been experiencing as a consequence of crimes against my royalty, if the UN is aware of the level of bargaining and negotiating that dirty culprits and dirty debtors that owe me so much, it's inestimable. If you could all come to terms with what has gone on already in this community, besides having to put me through more of the trash that I'm tolerating while I'm self-healing, it might be a little bit more credible if you pay up your debts, step up to your jobs that you're receiving money and salary and wages for, and clear off from property that I don't welcome you on. Now, it's very bad that there are nuisances and pests that can't observe etiquette, and the children will suffer. So those that are bad PR and that are mental health illnesses, keep away from my door. Seriously. There are mental health practitioners on behalf of ASBOs in my proximity. You've no right or remit with me, and you're really not safe not observing royal protocols. So any false reporting or bad productions, noises, screams, shouting, crying, all this trash that this community presents as another exacerbatory offence. Anything trash from Tralee really isn't safe to be supporting. They've done enough defamation. They've enough damages to the state and the constitution caused. The slander that I've tolerated is outrageous. So they are up for blasphemy already. They've been profane. They've got sacrilege behind them. So anyone that's touching off that subject has no regard for their future or safety or their lives. I'm not tolerating ASBOs in society. I'm zero tolerance, and anyone that doesn't pay up their debts is hanging a big dirty cross over their children, not honouring their dues. So keep off my farms in Ardfert and Kilflynn. If the guards could at least prioritise that. The HSE, just so you know, some of your staff members are a liability to your reputation. Any frauds or liabilities of the HSE might be careful about the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Family Protection being offended. So HSE culprits of fraud or theft or offence, exacerbatory or otherwise, might remove themselves from my property portfolio and the issues that they've caused against the church and my holy matrimony of the 30th of the 3rd, 2015. So I think I'm making my point. Anyone coming to my door without the debts and dues that they are to bring aren't welcome. It's as simple as that. I've experienced very dangerous damages, harms and losses. I've tolerated the filth of society, and there are people's lives saved and prospered because of me. So I hate to tell it, it's a cursed situation. My child is still a missing person. If he's not located, there'll be other children also at risk. So if people are able to think properly, they might start doing things properly as well. Until then, anyone stupid enough to come near a mother whose child is missing from her, that is owed the debt that I'm owed and that has been slandered, is obviously putting their lives at risk, okay? I'm a royal mother, I have a spiritual purpose, and my recovery advocacy has saved people's lives. So anyone that's breaking the law, repeating offences and trespassing on my farms is automatically unsafe, okay? It just happens when people break the law. No trespassing, please, or intruding. And I hope the guards will have the courage and bravery to step up to what is a challenge, which is crime, and it's not easy. I don't have to tolerate crime because of ASBOs that don't want to pay their debts or that feel uncomfortable correcting their failings that they're taking a wage for. So Europol, NATO, the French Legion, I'm a French nobility as well, if you could help out in this matter, it would be a great asset to society. There are mentally disturbed people that think they're French or royal ancestry of mine, and it's disturbing.